Hello Internet, my name is Minus and this is How and Why. As last year, today we're going to recap 2020 in a scientific nutshell. It has been a weird year and dominated by one specific headline: the pandemic. The discovery of the novel coronavirus, its properties, and the production of the vaccines against COVID-19 were undoubtedly breakthroughs, but there were a ton of other scientific discoveries that didn't make to the final cuts of the news. So here it is, the best of the rest of 2020 in science. The most Earth-like planet found. 360 days ago, on January 6, 2020, the first Earth-sized exoplanet was discovered. Emily Gilbert, using test satellite data, found a planet in the habitable zone of a dwarf star in the TOY 700 system. The planet, called TOY 700d, is the third farthest planet yet known in the system, which revolves in the inner part of the habitable zone of the star. Each star in the observable universe has a habitable zone. Its distance from the star varies depending on the star's brightness, age, and size. If there is a planet in this habitable zone, then it's very likely that water exists in its liquid form and sustain life. The checklist is full for TOY 700, where there is a planet having 1.19 times larger radius than the Earth and is 1.72 times bigger in mass. It is believed that there is an Earth-like atmosphere there and a small chance of runaway greenhouse effect to exist. Unique non-oxygen breathing animal discovered. On February 25, 2020, a study was published suggesting that there is an animal that doesn't need oxygen to breathe. Amazingly, this animal is a jellyfish relative, a parasite of salmon called Heneguia salmonicola. This peculiar creature lost its mitochondria through evolution. Now, this doesn't seem any interesting, but in fact, this tells us that the animal doesn't need oxygen to breathe, changing one of science's assumptions about the animal world. As Professor Hukon explains, aerobic respiration was thought to be ubiquitous in animals, but now we confirmed that this is not the case. Our discovery shows that evolution can go in strange directions. Aerobic respiration is a major source of energy, and yet we found an animal that gave up this critical pathway. Some other organisms like fungi, amoebas, or ciliates lineage in anaerobic environments and have lost their ability to breathe over time. The new study demonstrates that the same can happen to an animal, possibly because the parasite happens to live in anaerobic environments, though it's not yet clear how it produces energy. And this lies upon how we think about evolution. It was believed that all creatures became more complex through millions of years evolving, but right before us, a simple organism seems to shed unnecessary genes responsible for aerobic respiration, becoming a similar organism. 7-billion-year-old meteor found on Earth. Billions of years before our Sun winked into existence, a dying star far from here flung dust and rocky material into space. One of those rocks was wandering for billions of years in dead space, only to crash here on Earth, becoming the oldest material on Earth and even older than Earth itself. The analysis of those ancient rocks found grains of stardust that were between 4.6 and 7 billion years old. Researchers estimate that these early dust species lurk only in about 5% of meteorites, although that hasn't discouraged them from continuing to hunt them, as they will give us clues to our galaxy's history, or even its formation. Potential to find advanced alien civilizations. SETI has been the search for extraterrestrial intelligence for about 2 decades. In simple words, it was a crowdsourced service for alien hunting. It used radio telescopes to catch wandering signals from space and hoped to find alien intelligence. Sadly enough, that didn't happen yet, and SETI was shut down 10 months ago last March. It wasn't its lack of results that led to this act, rather a new discovery that puts the service on the shelf. SETI always faced the challenge of where to look, where those radio telescopes should point and catch a wandering signal. Now scientists using existing data can search for alien technosignatures that might indicate technological activity. First, they search for the easiest: solar panels. This is not an easy task in reality, but stars are the most powerful energy generators that we can harvest. So advanced alien life might not use radio waves in hope to be caught by monkeys on the third rock from the Sun, but they surely need to generate energy. Using a specific spectral signature, humans could detect massive solar infrastructure on other planets. Second is pollutants. We are more than guilty to admit that our pollutants, gases that we emit into the atmosphere, are visible from space. Though, this can be a nice tool to find alien technology on other planets. Carbon dioxide, hydrogen and nitrogen are quite common gases in the cosmos, so they're not very good for detecting aliens. Venus, for example, is full of CO2 in the atmosphere, and yet no factory emits it. But CFCs, a long-gone gas used for refrigerants, could be found on other planets. If they could be found, there must be industrial activity there, which means intelligent life. Who knows? Strongest material ever to be made. What's the strongest material of them all? Steel? Graphene? Well, several years ago it was discovered that spider silk is the most powerful material. It was even featured on a Mythbusters episode. Spider silk is 5 times more powerful than steel and 6 times lighter. It can withstand 3000 degrees Celsius, being a mass used in engineering. Alas, spiders cannot be tamed, and the required silk to produce needs all the spiders on Earth. Can you imagine a park or a factory full of spiders working to produce silk? Not me. But on July 8, 2020, Chen-Ping Fung conducted a study that focused on the marine photosynthetic bacterium Rhodophyllum sulfidophyllum. This bacterium is ideal for establishing a sustainable biofactory because it grows in seawater, requires carbon dioxide and nitrogen in the atmosphere, and uses solar energy, all of which are abundant and inexhaustible. These are no spiders, but they can create protein silk, similar to that arthropods create for their webs. So pretty much problem solved. Mass production of spider silk in photosynthetic bacteria is on the verge. But before we continue to the most important scientific discovery, here are some studies with some astonishing findings. Ceres confirmed to have frozen salty water. New evidence proved that non-avian dinosaurs were extinct after a meteor colliding with Earth, ending a long-year debate. Betelgeuse is 25% smaller and closer than originally thought. Jupiter and Saturn came within a 6-minute arc on December 21, 2020. Last time this happened in 1623, and if you missed it, well, the next one is 5,520 years from now. CRI-SPR-based genome editing system treatment destroys cancer cells. Before we scream that humanity finally cured cancer, we have to say one thing. Cancer is not only one. There is a whole list of types of cancer. Although researchers at Tel Aviv University demonstrated that with CRI-SPR-based genome editing, there is a way to destroy cancer cells. The molecular scissors of Cas9, which are made of enzyme and RNA, cut the cancer cell's DNA, thereby neutralizing it and permanently preventing replication. So instead of destroying cancer, this method stops it from replicating itself and transfer to other organs. As Professor Pierce says, this is not chemotherapy and there are no side effects. 2020 was a weird year with unprecedented situations. Although science had a lot to say, a lot to do. But before we need to wrap things up for today, this was the best of the rest for 2020 in science. Thank you for being here today, and as always, thanks for watching.